Welcome to The Debate. So imagine you are the manager of Liverpool Football Club. It is the 89th minute of a totally deadlocked match, and your team has just won a corner kick.
Basically the most high-pressure situation imaginable.
Yeah, exactly. The entire season essentially hangs on what happens in the next 15 seconds. And for over a century, the decision of where to put your players in that box came down to the gut instinct of the guys on the touchline, right? Veteran football coaches relying on years of trial, error, and, intuition.
Right, just drawing on their own experience.
Exactly. But what if you didn't have to guess? What if you could run a geometric algorithm that instantaneously calculates the precise, mathematically optimal spot for every single player to stand, effectively guaranteeing the highest probability of a goal?
Which sounds like science fiction, honestly.
It does. But today we are looking at the integration of artificial intelligence in top-tier professional football. Specifically, we're examining a system called Tactic AI, which was developed in collaboration with domain experts from Liverpool FC.
A massive, massive development.
Huge. So we are tackling a massive question today. Does the introduction of generative AI systems like Tactic AI represent a true paradigm shift? Like, are we at a point where modern data analysts can mathematically outmaneuver traditional tactical planning?
Or, on the flip side, do the inherent limitations of tracking data mean these systems will always just be subordinate tools, completely reliant on the holistic intuition of veteran football coaches?
Right, and I will be arguing that Tactic AI's predictive power and the fact that its generated tactics are so heavily preferred by world-class experts proves we're entering an era of absolute algorithmic dominance in modern football.
And I will be arguing that while Tactic AI is an incredibly impressive piece of engineering, truly, the reality of a football match is just far too chaotic to be fully quantified. The limited availability of high-fidelity tracking data means these systems possess massive blind spots.
Blind spots that you think ruin the model.
Well, they mean the AI can only ever function as a supplementary aid. It relies entirely on the foundational expertise and real-time, on-pitch adjustments of the people who actually understand the human elements of the sport.
Okay, to really grasp why this is such a seismic shift, we have to look at how modern data analysts currently operate at the highest levels. The margins in top-tier football are just razor thin.
Oh, absolutely. A half-yard mistake costs you a championship.
Exactly. A single misstep, one player out of position, and it's over. Because of that, clubs have been trying to quantify the game for years. But historically, we used simple logistic regression.
Just looking at historical averages.
Right. Basically staring at a massive spreadsheet of past shots and saying, based on averages, a shot from this exact location has a 12% chance of going in. It was descriptive. It only told you what already happened.
Which is useful, but limited.
Highly limited. But Tactic AI moves us entirely away from spreadsheets and into something called geometric deep learning. It incorporates a predictive component and, crucially, a generative component.
The generative part being the big leap.
Exactly. It doesn't just tell a coach what the opponent usually does. It mathematically samples thousands of alternative player setups and then selects the one with the absolute highest predicted likelihood of success. It establishes an objective, algorithmic base.
In the farthest reaches of space, one scientist refused to stop searching. Every discovery uncovers The Scientist Explorers. Available now, just $4.99 on Amazon Kindle Unlimited. Start the adventure today.
Okay, but we really have to remember what this sport actually is. It is 22 exhausted human beings running around a massive, muddy piece of grass. It's inherently fluid, chaotic, and intensely physical.
I'm not denying the physical reality of the sport.
You're glossing over it. Look, I am not dismissing the technology. Tactic AI is a phenomenal retrieval system. It has shown it can reliably predict who is going to receive the ball. But the researchers themselves explicitly admit that the system is constrained by the sparse data sets available in football today.
Sparse compared to what, though?
Compared to any closed system, you just don't have the volume of perfect, controlled data that you might have in other fields. And more importantly, predicting a receiver on a computer screen cannot account for the unquantifiable human elements of execution.
Like what? The math doesn't change based on feelings.
But the execution does. The algorithm doesn't know about player morale. It doesn't know about the psychological weight of a rivalry match. It doesn't know if your star center back is carrying a slight hamstring knock from training.
Okay, fair point on the injuries, but
But that's the whole point. The experience manager understands that holistic environments in a way a neural network simply cannot. That makes the AI a brilliant assistant, sure, but the human being making the real-time adjustments will always be the dominant force.
okay, you're entirely right that open play is chaotic, right? And that is exactly why the researchers didn't start by trying to model the entire 90-minute match. They deliberately paused the chaos by prioritizing the use of tactic eye in corner kicks.
Which is a very specific, isolated slice of the game.
Yes, but it wasn't an arbitrary choice. Corner kicks offer the most direct opportunities for tactical interventions. The ball is stationary, the players have a few seconds to set up. It is a controlled environment.
Relatively controlled, anyway.
Right, relatively, but that is precisely where modern data analysts can systematically dismantle an opposing defense. By focusing on corner kicks, the analyst isn't just reviewing video clips from last week. They are actively engineering the optimal future state.
Engineering a future state sounds a bit dramatic, don't you think?
I don't think it is. You can tell the system, if the opponent sets up in a zonal marking system, generate a counter tactic, and the AI will instantly output a structural adjustment that maximizes the probability of a shot. It is literally turning a chaotic scrum in the penalty box into a solvable math equation.
See, solvable math equation is exactly the phrase that worries me here. Yes, they prioritize the use of tactic eye and corner kicks because it limits the variables, but you are essentially talking about a set piece.
Which is a huge part of the game.
It is, but think of a corner kick like a chess opening. A chess opening is highly structured, it's predictable, and the immediate permutations are finite, right?
Sure.
An algorithm can absolutely optimize a chess opening because the rules are rigid. But the moment that ball is kicked, the rest of the game turns into jazz improvisation. It is reactionary, it's messy, and it constantly breaks its own patterns.
I think you're romanticizing the chaos a bit too much.
I'm really not. Succeeding in the isolated, static environment of a corner kick does not prove that quant-focused tacticians are going to replace a manager's real-time tactical evolution during open play. You are taking success in the most static, structured fraction of the game and projecting it onto a sport defined by dynamic unpredictability.
Look, I think you are severely underestimating how complex a corner kick actually is. It is not a static chessboard. You have up to 22 highly athletic players crammed into a single penalty area.
Crammed being the operative word.
Right. They're all moving simultaneously, engaging in physical contact, trying to deceive each other with dummy runs and screens. It is incredibly complex, and the success tactic AI achieved in this specific space is unprecedented.
Unprecedented in a simulation, maybe.
No, not just in a simulation. The researchers didn't just run this in a vacuum. They conducted a qualitative study with actual football domain experts at Liverpool FC, and they found two staggering things.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, the AI's model suggestions were indistinguishable from real human-designed tactics. The experts literally could not tell the difference between what the AI drew up and what a world-class human coach drew up. It passed a tactical Turing test.
A tactical Turing test. Wow.
Exactly. And second, the AI-generated tactics were preferred over the existing tactics 90% of the time. 90%.
Right, but
Wait, let me just finish this point. When the best tactical minds at one of the biggest clubs in the world look at machine-generated setups and say, this is better than what we are currently doing 9 times out of 10, we have crossed the threshold. The algorithm is objectively superior at devising these setups.
Okay, but you're placing way too much weight on a boardroom study. We really need to zero in on the distinction between an expert favoring a clean diagram on an iPad and the physical reality of the sport.
You don't think Liverpool's experts know what works on the pitch?
Of course they do. But let's look at that 90% preference rate. If the AI suggestions are truly indistinguishable from real tactics, isn't the AI simply mirroring the historical brilliance of veteran football coaches? I mean, the guys who actually invented those routines.
I mean, it learns from data, obviously, but...
Right. It trained on what human beings have already done. It is essentially a highly sophisticated mirror. Furthermore, sitting in a climate-controlled meeting room and saying, yes, mathematically, if our striker shifts 2 yards to the near post, he will be open, is fundamentally different from actual execution.
But it gives you the baseline of what the execution should aim for.
Sure, the algorithm can generate the perfect counter tactic. It can draw the perfect lines. But selecting a tactic with the highest predicted likelihood of success on a screen does not mean that exhausted players can actually execute that subtle position adjustment under physical pressure.
So you're saying the math is right, but the bodies fail.
Exactly. The modern data analyst can optimize the geometry, but only the veteran coach on the touchline knows if his players have the physical and mental capacity left to make that specific run in the 89th minute.
Okay, if you're listening to this and thinking, well, the AI is just copy-pasting old tactics, you're totally missing the mechanism of how this technology actually works. Tactic Eye doesn't just mirror historical averages.
It trains on historical data.
It does. But this is where we have to talk about geometric deep learning, because this is the core of the paradigm shift. In the past, analysts used models to identify basic player actions, where a pass was made, where a tackle happened. It was flat.
Two-dimensional.
Right. Geometric deep learning allows the neural network to understand the pitch as a relational graph. Think of a relational graph like invisible rubber bands connecting every single player in the penalty box.
Okay, invisible rubber bands. I'm with you.
Yeah. Tactic Eye doesn't just see a snapshot of X and Y coordinates. It understands the tension of those bands. So if a defending center back takes one single step to the left, the AI instantaneously calculates how that shifts the spatial tension for the other 21 players.
It recalculates the whole geometry.
Yes. It understands the underlying geometry of the play. So when it generates a new tactic, it isn't just regurgitating a play from 2019. It is synthesizing a completely novel spatial arrangement based on the exact, unique positioning of the opponent in that moment.
Which is brilliant for generating permutations.
Exactly. This technological leap means modern data analysts no longer need 3 decades of intuitive coaching experience to spot a vulnerability. The AI bridges that gap mathematically.
Look, I love the rubber band analogy, I really do. But the mechanism you are praising, that ability to calculate the tension of those invisible bands, is fundamentally constrained by what the system can actually see.
It sees the spatio-temporal data of every player.
Right, but what it sees is limited. The researchers are very transparent about the limited availability of high-fidelity, gold standard data. Any model, I don't care how elaborate the neural network architecture is, if it's built on sparse inputs, it possesses massive blind spots.
But it's accurate enough to get a 90% approval rating.
In a controlled study, tracking sensors only capture coordinates. They capture the where and the when. They absolutely do not capture the why.
The why doesn't necessarily matter if the where results in a goal.
Of course it matters. Why did that center back take a step to the left? Was it a tactical choice? Or did he slip on a patch of wet grass? Did he lose his marker because of brilliant offensive geometry? Or because he was terrified of the striker and hesitated for a fraction of a second?
You're acting like the why is some mystical aura that only humans can perceive.
It's not mystical, it's psychology. The data analysts can tell you the geometric probability of a receiver getting the ball, but they are working with incomplete variables. Veteran football coaches fill in those massive data gaps with an intuitive knowledge of player psychology, team dynamics, and split-second physical nuances that optical tracking systems simply cannot quantify.
Okay, but the laws of the game dictate a physical reality, right? We are talking about a sport where teams compete to score goals by manipulating space and probability.
Yes, space and probability executed by humans.
But the evolution of nuanced strategies has always moved toward optimizing those probabilities. When Tactic AI recommends adjusting a player's position by 1 meter, it's doing so because the relational graph has identified a spatial vulnerability that the human eye, no matter how experienced, might simply miss in the chaos. Football data is currently sparse compared to something like weather forecasting. We don't have perfect biometric tracking on every joint of a player's body yet.
And until we do, the system is flawed.
But the fact that Tactic AI achieves a 90% preference rate despite those data limitations is the ultimate proof of its robust architecture.
It works not because it understands the emotional state of the striker, but because it removes the subjective bias and emotional noise that human coaches suffer from. It strips the game down to its physical truths.
Look, stripping the game down to physical truth sounds great in a laboratory, but it risks removing the contextual wisdom that actually wins championships. There is a reason top-tier clubs employ incredibly diverse teams of veteran football coaches, former players, psychologists, and analysts.
Because they haven't had AI powerful enough to consolidate it before.
No, because no single paradigm holds all the answers. The modern data analyst can study the opponent all week. They can use these elaborate neural network architectures to devise the geometrically perfect corner kick routine.
And it will work.
But once the referee blows the whistle, the environment changes. If the opposing team suddenly brings on a substitute who plays with a completely different physical profile, someone taller, more aggressive, less disciplined, and they shift their defensive shape in a way the AI hasn't seen, the predictive component begins to break down.
It doesn't break down, it adjusts to the new coordinates.
But the mathematical model doesn't instantly comprehend the new emotional temperature of the match. It is the veteran coach who must instantly recognize that new pattern and adjust. The AI is a brilliant, hyper-fast assistant, but it remains subordinate to the human capacity for rapid contextual adaptation.
I hear you emphasizing adaptation, but you are fundamentally ignoring the generative power of the system. Tactic AI isn't just a static playbook that breaks down when confronted with novelty.
It is reliant on past data to generate future tactics.
But because it is generative, it allows the tactical staff to sample and explore alternative setups dynamically. If the opposing team changes their shape on the fly, the analyst can input that new shape into the model.
Assuming they have the time during the match.
It takes seconds. The AI recalculates the tension on all those invisible rubber bands and instantly generates the new optimal counter tactic. It adapts numerically, and that is exactly why it's changing how we approach the sport.
It's changing the preparation, sure.
We are moving away from an era where a club's success relies solely on the holistic intuition of a charismatic manager pacing the touchline. We're moving toward a system where data-driven insights establish the baseline of all tactical decisions. The human still matters, obviously, but the algorithm is setting the agenda.
Yet even in your own description of how this process works, who is the final arbiter? You just said the analyst inputs the shape, the AI generates the tactic, and then the staff explores the setups. The AI proposes, but the human disposes.
Well, yeah, someone has to tell the players what to do.
Exactly. The fact that the researchers had to validate Tactic Eye through a blind test with actual domain experts at Liverpool highlights this perfectly. They didn't just run a simulation to see if it worked. They needed world-class veteran football coaches to look at it and say, yes, this translates to real executable football.
That just proves the AI's output is valid.
It proves the system cannot exist in a vacuum. It requires the validation of the people who intimately understand the physical limitations of the sport. It's a powerful lens. It brings the microscopic details of spatial geometry into sharp focus. But a lens is totally useless without an eye to look through it.
I mean, that's a poetic way to look at it.
It requires the manager to say, the math is right, but my players are too tired to run that specific route right now. That makes it a subordinate tool. A revolutionary tool without question, but subordinate nonetheless.
All right, I think we have clearly mapped out the battle lines here. My perspective remains that the integration of Tactic AI represents a massive, irreversible paradigm shift in professional football.
A shift, yes, but not a replacement.
The generative capabilities of this system, combined with its ability to reliably predict receivers and shot attempts by understanding the complex geometry of the pitch, elevates modern data analysts to a position of primary tactical influence. The fact that its setups were heavily preferred over existing human tactics by experts at the very pinnacle of the sport is a massive triumph for analytics.
In the boardroom,
It proves that geometric deep learning can uncover optimal spatial setups that even the most experienced traditional coaching methods miss. We are establishing a new algorithmic foundation for how the game is played.
and my position remains strictly grounded in the physical reality of the sport. Geometric deep learning is an incredible advancement in parsing complex spatial relationships, no doubt about it. But it still operates strictly within the bounds of tracking data limitations.
For now.
Even so, the reality of 22 active players engaging in a highly physical, emotionally charged contest creates an environment that is simply too chaotic to be fully quantified by X and Y coordinates. Tactic AI has proven to be unmatched in the highly structured, almost chess-like environment of a corner kick.
Which is why it's such a priority.
But succeeding in a set piece does not replace the necessity of human oversight. The unquantifiable elements, the intuitive adjustments, the intimate understanding of player psychology, and the raw physical toll of execution ensure that these analytical systems will remain highly sophisticated supplementary aids. They inform the veteran coaches, but they do not replace them.
Well, despite our disagreement on who ultimately holds the reins, I think we can both clearly agree that Tactic AI represents a massive, undeniable leap forward from early sports analytics.
Oh, absolutely.
We have moved so far beyond simple expected goals models or using logistic regression just to, guess if a shot might go in.
100%. The ability to use these elaborate neural networks as an active retrieval and generation system is phenomenal. Allowing teams to practically experiment with alternative setups in a virtual space before they ever step onto the training pitch is a highly effective way to find those tiny, crucial margins at the elite level.
Yeah, it really is a brilliant piece of engineering. And honestly, this tension we are discussing reflects exactly how nuanced strategies evolve.
It's a healthy tension.
Right. The sport is ultimately best served when modern data analysts and veteran football coaches rigorously challenge each other. The algorithm pushes the human to see new geometric possibilities, to break out of historical biases.
And the human grounds the algorithm in the physical, muddy reality of the pitch.
Precisely. There is so much more to explore regarding how generative AI will continue to shape highly professionalized sports. This really is just the beginning.
We are just scratching the surface of what happens when machine efficiency collides with human unpredictability. The data will get better, the tracking will get more granular, but the game will always be played by people.
Which brings us to a final thought. Earlier in human history, the invention of the telescope completely revolutionized how we understood the night sky, right?
Right.
It turned a chaotic scattering of light into measurable geometry and undeniable physics. It changed the paradigm forever. But even with the most powerful telescope in the world, you still need the astronomer to look through the glass, to know where to point it, and to make meaning out of the mathematics.
You always need the astronomer.
In modern football, Tactic AI has given modern data analysts the most powerful telescope ever pointed at a pitch. The question moving forward isn't just how clear that lens will get. The real question is whether the algorithm will eventually learn to look through the lens entirely on its own.